Hello and welcome to part 2 of how to read music on the mandolin. This is a slightly shorter video than part 1. We're just going to cover the notes on the G string and the notes on the E string. So at the end of this lesson you'll have enough note knowledge and fretboard knowledge to read simple melodies like these. Everything we talk about in this lesson is included in a free PDF, so please do have that downloaded and in front of you while we work through the information in this video. In part 1, we covered the notes on the D string and the notes on the A string. So if you can't currently read a piece of music like this, which is just in these middle two strings, then please do loop back and recheck your part 1 knowledge. But for those who are comfortable with the notes on the D and the A string, so we've got D, E, F, G, A, B, C and D covered, the notes on the G string first were down here. Now rather handily, any note that is below the stave is probably going to be on the G string, apart from one, which is the first note that just sits underneath the stave, which is our open D. Every other note, so you've got the note with one line through it, you've got the note that sits under a line, then you've got the note that's got a line through it and sits under a line, and then you've got the note that has 2 lines above it. They're all going to be on the G string. Now, in part 1, if you remember, we had 2 nice ways of remembering notes on the stave. So that's with the lines through, and that was Every Good Boy Does Fine, E, G, B and D, E and F. And for the notes in the spaces, we had face, F, A, C and E. They were kind of helpful ways to remember what note is what. Unfortunately, we don't have that on the G string. We have got no quick way of remembering. You just have to learn these almost as pictures and associations. So as I just said, the note directly below the stave is a D. And this is where, if you remember last time, we sort of start to build up that association. So we also need to know where these are on the fretboard. So if we work down, so we've got the starting on our D string, the next note down, the 5th fret, this is our C. This is the note that's just below the stave with a line through it. That's a C. Then the next one down that just sits under a line looks like this. This is a B. And then next one down after that, which sits under a line and has a line through it, is an A. And then finally, we have a note that sits underneath the line and has another one above it. That's a G. So you just need to take a minute and just sort of create pictures in your mind that the G looks like that, the A looks like that, the B looks like that, and the C looks like that. There's no words I can give you to sort of have a shortcut. Just remember what the 4 notes look like and where they are on the fretboard. G, A, B, C, and then the D. Next we have the notes on the E string, and unfortunately, just like before, there's no quick way of remembering it. Although the first 2 notes on the E string, if you look at the pictures in the PDF, are covered by our part 1 work. So F, A, C, E, face. The very first note of the E string actually sits in the last gap on the stave, so that's an F, A, C, E. That's an E. So this open E is that last note on the stave. And then similarly, Every Good Boy Does Fine. The last note in that analogy is the F. So 2 of the 5 notes I want you to learn today should have been covered in part 1. F and E, E and F. And then next, just like on the G string, we just have to remember what a note looks like, what its name is, and where it is on the fretboard. So the note that sits just above the stave is here. It's the 3rd fret. It's a G. The note that sits above the stave with a line through it is here. It's an A. And then our last note for today, the note that sits above the stave and just above a line is a B. So again, just create that association. G looks like this. A looks like this, and B looks like this. And then you've got the 3rd fret is the G, the 5th fret is the A, 7th fret is the B. There's no quick way around that. You just have to sort of get that little 3-part association. The name of the note, where it is on the stave, where it is on the fretboard. G is here, G is there on the stave. We also can't forget about our flats and sharps. They have the same effect, so if you put a flat in front of a note, say we had a flat in front of this high A, it would make it an A flat, so you would play the fret below that. If it was a sharp, if you had a sharp before it, it would sharpen the note by 1 fret, so it would become A sharp. And also in music, don't forget that very rarely do you get the pleasure of having the flat and sharp directly next to a note. They're quite often shoved to the start of the line, and then you get them at the start of every line. And you have to add in, you have to remember what's a flat and what's a sharp. It's the hardest thing about music. 25 years into reading music, I've been reading music since I was 8 years old, so 26 years. I still get it wrong. I'm still reading a line of music and forget that the C should be C sharp instead of C natural. So just something you have to get used to. If in doubt, get the pencil out and write them all in. So you now hopefully have enough note knowledge to play any piece of music on the mandolin. We haven't discussed timings, we haven't discussed key signatures, we're going to do that in future lessons on reading music, but if we pick some melodies that you will already know, so Lullaby, if you already know the song, the time is not quite important because you kind of know what you're going for. So I've got 4 examples for you. We've got Lullaby, Bach's Minuet, we've got Amazing Grace, and we've got the Tennessee Waltz. So we'll start with Brahms' Lullaby. Pause this video. If you need to, get the pencil out and write the name of every single note. So you've got E, E, G, E, E, G, E, G, C, D, A, G, D, E, F. And there's no flats or sharps. Notice how there's no flats or sharps at the start. So every single note is its natural note. And I've gone this first example, just that low C. You just have to keep an eye out for that low C. So I'm just going to play it. You can play along. See if you can play along reading the music. 1, 2. And then here's this low C on the G string. Low C again. Low C on the G string. Finish on the low straight C on the G string. So that's quite a nice example because it's mostly what we did in part 1 with just the addition of that C. So you're just creating that association that's all it is. It's that association of the line, the note underneath the stave with the line through it is your 5th fret of the G string. It's the only way to learn music on the mandolin. Our next example is Bach's Minuet. But notice at the start of the line we now have a sharp where that F note is. So the sharp is on the last line of the stave. So if you think of the analogy, every good boy does fine at F. So every F is sharp in the high octave, so all the 1s of the E string become 2s, and every 3 of the D. So the sharp covers every octave, not just that particular one. So here's the minuet after 3. 1, 2, 3. Onto the E string, F sharp, G. F sharp. Third line. G. Watch out for this F sharp. 2 more examples. We've got Amazing Grace in the key of D. So this time we have 2 sharps to keep an eye on. We've got F sharp and we've got C sharp because that sharp sign is on the 3rd space. So F-A-C-E of face. So it's a C sharp. And we've also got some high notes. So if you look on that second line, we've got a high. It's the note that's above the stave with a line through the middle of it. If you remember, that's an A. So that's the 5th fret here. So if we play Amazing Grace after 2, 1, 2. F sharp. Second line. Up to the high A. 2, 3, 1, 2. So again, if you struggle with any of that, hit pause, write all the note names on, and remember all your Fs are sharp and all your Cs are sharp. And then finally, a slightly longer and a slightly more difficult example, the Tennessee Waltz. We're back to just one sharp, so we're back to just F sharp, but we've got a lot of notes down on the G string. So again, hit pause, write them all in, remember. Lowest note with the 2 lines and it's sat underneath the G. Next one with a line through it and a line above is an A, B, C, and then finally the first note under the stave is a D. So write them all in. Here we go, after 2. 1, 2. So finishing on an A there. 1, 2, G, A, B, D, G, A, B, D, G, A, B, B, A, G, E, F sharp, C, B, A, G. Onto the chorus. 1, 2. F sharp. 2, 3, 1, 2. G, A, B, D, G, A, B, D. B, A, C, B, A, G. Hopefully you now have the knowledge to read all notes that you come across on the mandolin. Again, we haven't discussed timing, we've just picked melodies you should always know the timing of. We haven't discussed key signatures, but so they will come in future lessons. Hope you enjoy it. We do these every month. Head over to mandomike.com for all the free lessons we do, and we'll see you for the next reading music installment.